it's just so special for such our club, mate, our club.
Lastly, after 57 years of pain, it's coming home.
Hey there, TJ here, and welcome to Yeahthedees, where we are talking about round 3 against the Bombers. We won by 29 points and got the job done. So, against a very spirited Essendon team that was playing very differently from their first and second round games because they actually tried to make someone accountable in the midfield. Can only imagine what would have happened if we had played this mob in round 1, how much we would have crushed them. But they decided to try and throw a tag on and worked okay. You know, Petrarca's influence was kind of halved, I guess, if you want to go from 40 to 20-ish disposals. Couldn't really keep us down for too long, and we finally got on top of them and kicked away at the end of the game, which, to be honest, I was pretty much expecting. So, good stuff. So I saw this really interesting stat here saying Melbourne has won the post-clearance ground ball get by 23 per game, which is ranked number 1, and the next best is +8. That's obscene to be +23 and the next best is +8. Like, to be 15 ground ball gets more than the next best team is absurd. So what that means is that once the ball gets cleared out either from the centre or into our back line or into our forward line and it doesn't get marked and it hits the ground, we're picking it up. And we're picking it up that many more times than the opposition because we're creating a contest there. So that's all of our backman. That's the Jake Bowies, the Jaden Hunts, Smith that's picking it up off the ground, or in the forward line when, a Ben Brown or a Sam Wiedemann's not taking that mark. It's a Charlie Spargo, it's an Alex Neil-Bullen, it's Cozzy Pickett. Cozzy Pickett and Alex Neil-Bullen had lots of ground ball gets last year, and it seems like, they're still doing it in, but, it's not a very noticeable stat, so it's something that can fly under the radar a little bit. Late out was Ben Brown due to health and safety protocols. Sam Wiedemann came in for his first game and his 50th game for the Dees. First goal for the game was actually his 50th goal for the Dees as well. Pretty much going at a goal a game. Thought he was pretty good, a little shaky early. Would have been really nice to have put on an extra 2 goals in the first quarter. The set shot kicking was just a bit off this game by us. We definitely would have put this game away a bit earlier if we had a kick straighter. We had a lot more opportunity. We had double the amount of scoring shots in the first quarter. So if we're 5-3 instead of 3-5, definitely puts a lot more pressure on Essendon. But, that's just how it is. We dominated early, leading inside 50s 10-3 and disposals 34-23. Like, we had a lot more of the ball. We were getting the ball inside 50, but just not capitalising. I was really happy to see how Sam Wiedemann was leading and marking. I think he did very well. There was a few moments throughout the game, and I think a bit of this had to do with the way Essendon were flooding. They were trying to really choke up the ground and not create many options, but that actually, did worse for them because as I was sitting up on the second level, watching the way the game was sort of unfolding, when they did turn the ball over and try to go out, they had no one to kick to because no one was in position. Everyone was in a defensive position and choking up the game. So, they're not going to do too much with the ball when they're playing so defensively. And that's something that we didn't see in round 1 or round 2 against the Bulldogs and the Lions. Yeah, I was really happy to see how Sam Wiedemann was leading up at the ball, but I did feel that our forwards and the way that they moved within the forward 50 was a bit stagnant. They didn't really create the best options they could for the person kicking the ball inside 50. Basically, that's something I think we really need to improve on. We need to improve on how we are kicking it into our forward line and how we lead towards the ball. I think maybe a bit of this is maybe because we don't quite have a dedicated forwards coach. We have Greg Stafford, and I'm sure he's great at kicking, and he obviously does great stuff with Max and Luke in the ruck, but I don't think he knows anything about leading patterns because our leading patterns have been shocking for years and they always get in the way. There's a lot of times where Tom McDonald and Sam Wiedemann will go for the same ball. It shits me up the wall to know tomorrow, when players get into another player's space, because that's what we did so well last year, was getting away from that. Look, very early on, kicking 1-4 from set shots. It was a little bit swirly, but, we've played the MCG a lot. Missed Jack Viney's goal because I was stuck in the line trying to get beers. They've got to sort it out at the MCG. It's just not on how they are not doing enough staff and an off bars open there. I went to the girls' game for the prelim on Saturday, and there was 6,500 people there, and they had one bar open and one food stand for an entire half of the ground, and that was just ridiculous. So MCG, get your act together. The fans are sick of it, pull your socks up. Stephen May had the ball in a string that quarter. Yep, he was fantastic again. He had a small couple of periods where Peter Wright got a hold of him, but the dude's like 10 centimetres taller than him. And unless you're going to put Max Gawn on someone like Peter Wright, then you're going to be losing with height. And sometimes, it's a problem that a lot of players have playing on Ben Brown, is the height that he is and how he can reach his hands up and get to it. So, of course, if Peter Wright gets his lead right, he's going to kick a few snags, and he was able to get it. Tex Wanganeen kicking a post with his first kick, poor kid, but he got a goal later in it, so that was good for him. They readjusted after the first quarter. The Bombers in the second, they were a little bit more competitive. Jake Stringer sort of got his hands on it, but then did his usual disappearing act, so we didn't have to worry about him too much. Love Tom Sparrow's goal. He's really growing as a player. I think he's going to be something really special once he gets a little bit older, and when footy's not so fresh and it's a bit more, just what you do, sort of how you see, the maturity that like a Clayton Oliver or a Christian Petrarca has at the age they are now. When Tom Sparrow gets to 25, we're going to see that from him, and I have all faith. But his contested mark and his kicking is at a level above. Like, his powerful kicks from 50, 60 metres, and then for them to be on point is a weapon. That's something that he's one of the players that's going to make us that bit better again in the years coming when we're going to win more flags. Yeah, Essendon made the most of their opportunities for that. They kicked 3-1 from just 6 entries, so that's where it's a little bit skewed. It makes them look a bit more better than what they were. We went out and kicked 1-3. Bad kicking's bad footy, and if we should have gone in 8-4 at halftime and the game's done. You know what I mean? But because we went in 4-8 with inaccurate kicking, and the Bombers, they did a bit better that quarter, but they were inaccurate as well. Keeps the game alive. It keeps it at 11 points. At 9 points instead of it being 30 points. On to the second half, and Essendon started well. Tex Wanganeen got the first opportunity of the quarter again, and did a little bit better that time. Peter Wright doing his thing, and then James Harms's back-to-back goals really steadied the ship. For a lot of fans in the stands, they were getting real worried after Peter kicked his third. They're sitting there thinking, it's on. And I turned to my dad and I said, I'll be very surprised if Essendon kick more than 10 goals this game. They had their opportunities and they had their little run, and it went all right. But we pegged it back every time. Every time they had a little run, we peg it back. James Harms, Sam Wiedemann, bang. And then they get their 2 little Jake Stringer goals. He comes out as his cameo, then goes back to disappearing. We go bang, bang again. Whenever teams, kick a couple of goals, we'll answer eventually, and usually do better. There's times like round 1 against the Bulldogs where they kicked 8 goals in a row. We don't want those things to happen. It's weird that momentum happens that way in some games. We saw that over the weekend with Carlton versus Hawthorn and Geelong versus Collingwood, how important momentum is and how hard it is to stop as well. And that's something that's really important. And we actually saw the Dees do this a little bit in this third quarter and in the fourth quarter as well, is that they recognise when Essendon were getting their spirits up and sort of getting their confidence and going into it. And then we started playing the kick mark game and slowing it down. Essendon are a shit side, and sometimes when shit sides play, they'll suck you into playing a bit shit. And that's what Essendon did. We used to do it a lot to clubs sometimes. When we were crap back in like 2012, 2013, we'd get a game on our terms and it would be rough and scrappy and rubbish. And then eventually they would get the game on their terms and smash us. It took 3.5 quarters for that to happen, mainly because of bad kicking, but we got there in the end. There was a lot of easy opportunities that would have made the game a lot easier, and a few nervous Melbourne supporters who aren't used to this side being good and pulling it out yet. Yeah, let's look. The fourth quarter was a grind for most of it, and then we finally broke them. Charlie Spogo kicked a great goal. His running and space around the centre square to create The chance for this goal was highlighted by Fox Footy after the game. It shows the type of running that he does to get onto it, and then also his foot skills are elite. Love me a bit of Charlie Spargo. Bailey Fritsch finally got on the board. Hasn't he been a bit quiet this year? Not sure whether teams are just putting a bit more time into him and getting the matchup right, but I'm sure he'll unleash and kick 7 soon. This behind right here, I guess, was pretty critical. You know, they got on their run, they got their 2 goals again to sort of bring it back to the margin that it was at 3/4 time. But then Ed Langdon decided to throw it on his boot and show Jake Stringer a real magic trick and put it through the big sticks. Bailey Fritsch came in for his little goal at the end, and Sammy kicked one too. So it was a very nice end of the game for us to get these 3 goals in fairly quick succession, I would say, just to put the game out of doubt. But yeah, 14-15. Geez, that would have been a bit different if we had a kick straight. You know, could have very easily have been 19-10 to 10-10. And I'd say out of Essendon's chances, they probably could have kicked maybe 2 or 3 more goals, but that was really it. All in all, we banked the 4 points and we get the job done. I thought Clayton Oliver was fantastic in this with Petrarca getting tagged. I loved it when I saw that Clayton Oliver had 666 metres gained. You know, the number of the beast, the devil himself, Clayton Oliver, coming out. All his red hair fury to destroy footy clubs. Back to his best, 38 disposals, 20 kicks, 18 handballs, 8 marks, 8 clearances, 666 metres gained, 3 goal assists, 88% time on ground. Blows my mind how fit we are and how much of a weapon that is for us to have our best players on for most of the time. Such a devastating tool in the end to be able to give some people quicker or longer rests if needed. Ed Langdon, Stephen May, Adam Tomlinson all playing 100% game time again, which is absolutely ridiculous. I said it last week, Adam Tomlinson doing that off a knee reco just blows my mind. Let alone someone like Christian Petrarca staying on the ground for 92% and being tagged. You know, that puts the player on him under so much pressure to stay with him and keep up with the fitness. You know, and that allows for some of our other players that'll be running around a lot, Charlie Spargo's, your Jaden Hunts, your Trent Rivers, to be able to get a few more rests in. Sam Wiedemann, 4 goals, 3. Very easily could have been 6 goals, 1, or even 7 goals straight. The kick that he had on the angle from the Dom Sheed pocket, I think people like to call it, that was unreal. I was like, out of all the ones that he was going to line up for, that was the one he was going to get because it was the hardest. And of course he missed those 2 easy ones early, but you know, he hasn't played AFL for a hot minute. He needs to just settle, get his kicking right, and I thought he had a hell of a game. He was just absolutely clunking it, and it's what we've always wanted to see. You know, we've wanted to see Sam Wiedemann get some really nice marks in there, because sometimes at VFL level he doesn't clunk them, but he was absolutely clunking them on Friday. Thought James Harms played really well, got his 2 goals, 21 disposals. You know, he flicks on dusty mode every now and then and does well. Nice to see Tom McDonald back around it. There's a lot of conjecture around whether he will be the person to come out for Ben Brown because Sam Wiedemann played so well. And it's like, you know, Tom McDonald is a quiet assassin. He gets a lot done during the game. He's very important for structure. He's a great backup just in case we need someone in defence, although it doesn't happen too often. You know, a lot of people will just see that he's had 6 disposals and think that that's quiet, but it's just he didn't get the ball kicked to him that many times. That's just it. And sometimes you've got to be the decoy forward. Sometimes you've got to try and pull a defender out of the space and do that sort of thing. That Ed Langdon goal though, like, talk about ridiculous. I reckon I've watched that about 40 times and I still can't work out how he made the ball turn like that. It was just off its head. And then I haven't even spoken about Angus Brayshaw's game yet. And to go back to 34 disposals off the halfback it's just unheard of, let alone 20 marks. You know, Nick Rewalt was the last player to take 20 marks in 2015 or 2016. So it's been 6 or 7 years since that's happened, let alone for, you know, a bloke who used to be an inside midfielder, or like who could still be an inside midfielder and probably one of the best in the game if he was put in the inside midfield. To take 20 marks, be that interceptor, be able to read the play that well, put yourself in the right positions, win the ball, and then do, you know, like 20 marks means you had 20 kicks or handballs straight after that. Like, you're giving yourself those possessions. It's just insane, absolutely insane. You know, 8 of them are 8 intercepts. So, and how many were intercept marks? 5. So 5 were intercept marks out of his 20 marks, and his other 15 were just around the ground. Just some ridiculous stuff there from Angus Brayshaw. He's an absolute jet. But also, one, I have zero fear about leaving. He loves the club, and I've put it in the Yeahthedees intro, the way that he talks about it being our club. And Brayshaw is a club man. I would be very surprised if he doesn't end up a one club player. Great dude, and he's also got the Gus and Gorney podcast. Like, do you think he's going to leave that? They're doing well. Score involvement's always good to look at. Clayton Oliver, Bailey Fritsch being involved in 8 chains, but not really getting on the end of too many. Only got on the end of 2. So at least he's getting a little bit involved. Who was bad? We've cleaned up. That's cleaning up some frees, which is good. Max Gawn's getting more, which is nice. It seems like he's actually starting to turn a little bit, because some of those ruck free kicks were just ridiculous. Disposal efficiency. Who were the clean players for our club? And Stephen May, once again, elite. Jack Viney, Luke Jackson, Tom Sparrow, Angus Brayshaw, and Jake Bowie. Bowser's just... what a find of a player. And what a 10-game run too. Two rising star noms, a flag. Like, absolutely love it. It was just a bit cleaner than Essendon, and you can sort of see how the stats line up as actually how much we actually dominated the game. Almost double in inside 50s. The game was spent a lot more in our forward half, and the scoring shots also say that as well. We had 9 more scoring shots, or at least the way that I work it out. Even if the ball's been rushed, it means that you've put the ball in a position where you've had a chance to score. The defenders are being pressured to put the ball over the defensive line. When that happens, and when you're dominating that much, like the game was on our terms. A lot of the time in 2020, when we had figures like this, like a 66 to a 39, but we were losing games because our kicking was that bad, and we weren't taking the most of our opportunities and just kicking points or kicking them out on the full. And it just, not the effort wasn't being rewarded, but the effort is somewhat being rewarded. We just need to clean that kicking up a little bit. Thought the umpires were okay. I saw a report saying that they were actually pretty poor. I thought that was interesting, but yeah, they got to get that hole in the ball right. I like that they've been a little bit softer on insufficient intent, especially since deliberate doesn't actually count as a law anymore. They seem to have gotten that fairly right, but yeah, holding the ball was a little hot and a little cold on the game. But yeah, overall I'd probably give it a C+. For the umpiring, I didn't think too many of the decisions really impacted the game. Essendon probably only got 1 goal from a bad free kick or a non-free kick, and that was just about it. Centre clearances, we got beaten by 5 in it. Stoppage clearances were pretty even. Hit-outs, a few of our hit-outs went straight down Essendon's players' throats, which I think is unacceptable. But it happens occasionally. It just happens when they hit it to the wrong spot, and that's it. 1 in contested possessions, 1 in uncontested possessions, had less turnovers, had more of it in, more possession in the match. And overall we got the job done, and that's what it's all about. During the season, it's just about getting the job done and banking the 4 points. We don't worry about any of this stuff until we get to finals, because that's when everything actually counts. And the Dees are they're just going to coast along and get the job done. I would like a few more tackles though. That's a bit soft, but it's like, look at how much we've lost the tackle count by, yet our tackles inside 50, we beat them. So it's like we're actually getting the tackles in the right area. And that's the rest of the stats there. All right, let's go into the coaches' votes, and then we'll go on to my votes. So I gave James Harms the 1 for 2 very important goals, turning on Dusty mode at the right time. And just having a great influence when I felt like Essendon was getting a bit of a run. James Harms came in and went bang, nah, I'm kicking 2 goals here, and just get back in your box, Bombers. Jake Bowie gave 2 votes too. I felt he backed up last week, his best game for the club last week, pretty well. So he gets the 2 votes here. I gave 3 to Sam Wiedemann. I thought his 4 goals were very important. Could have kicked 6, could have kicked 7. The big Weid gets rewarded for putting goals on the board. Gave 4 votes to Ed Langdon. Once again, running all day, doing what he needs to do for the club. His goal was in the 4th quarter was the sealer. He kicked goal of the game, 100%. And he does incredible things on the wing. Take a bow, Ed Langdon. You did well. Angus Brayshaw gets the 5. I was very, very close to giving him the full 6 for his ridiculous defensive game. 20 marks is just absolutely obscene, but I could not go past Clayton Oliver for the 6. Just from the eye test from the game, when I walked out of the ground, I was like, Clayton Oliver was best on ground by far. And then I was actually surprised to see how many marks Angus took. I was like, oh yeah, walking out of the ground, I'm like, yeah, he probably had like 12, 13 marks. I thought he did well, but 20, bang. That's crazy. So, I still gave Clayton Oliver the 6 just from my eye test. I definitely thought he was best on ground. Had plenty of influence in the centre. Definitely made up for Petrarca getting tagged. And, just an overall excellent game from Clayton Oliver. So, on to the Yeahthedees 2022 leaderboard. We've got Christian Petrarca still leading on 12. Luke Jackson, Clayton Oliver, Ed Langdon, all close behind on 9. Jake Bowie's got 6. Angus Brayshaw's got 5. Stephen May with 4. Weeds and Brown, the 2 forwards, with 3 each. And then Viney, Neil Bullen, and James Harms have all got a vote. But thanks. That's pretty much it for Yeahthedees. So thanks for watching and listening. Appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. It all definitely helps with the algorithm and helping this page pop up for other Dees fans. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments about this game. We'd love to hear from you. And if there was anything I didn't cover that you'd like to talk about, please let me know and we'll have a chat in the comments. Anyway, I will on to Port Adelaide this week, which they're going to be desperate for a win, so that's going to be very, very interesting. And then obviously the AFLW Dees girls going over for their first grand final in Adelaide. That's going to be a real tough game, but I hope they do the best. We've got a real good squad of a really good team, and if anyone can beat Adelaide, it's the Dees. So go girls, go Dees. Yeahthedees. See you later. All right, peace out.
Petrarca! Oh wow! How good is that? Sparrow to make it a 3-goal, 3-pointer Adelaide. He's got it! Surely not another one. Handball to Oliver, streaming through. Bang! Bang, bang, bang! Melbourne are the premiers for 2021!
And it's just so special for such our club, mate, our club.
Lastly, after 57 years of pain, it's coming home.